Welcome to CarTalks, where we talk everything about car. Today, let us talk about the 2025 Proton X50 RC. If I don't tell you this is the RC version, do you notice any difference? In case you didn't notice, this is actually the brand new 2025 Proton X50 RC, which is considered as the first facelift or not, depends on how you build it. Proton prefer to call it as the rolling change. So, no matter exterior, interior, it all remained the same as before. If it didn't broke, why you change it? At the moment, Proton X50 is the most hot-selling B-segment SUV in Malaysia, surpassing HRV, Chery or Model 5, and other competitors. Proton recorded 23,000 per year of sales for Proton X50. So what is so special about RC rolling change? Exterior, interior, 100% the same. There's no need further elaboration. And I'm sure Proton X50, since it debuted in 2020, we are no stranger on the exterior and interior, so I will not spend too much of time to explain about it. So RC, what's the difference? Number one is better NVH. Proton claim they have improved more than 20 points of the NVH of the car. And number two is the faster processor and better memory for the head unit, so it's smoother. In that, due absence of Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. I think that's about that. Not much changes. Oh yeah, additional accessory. For example, the power boot, which is now standard in the flagship variant. There's plenty of X50 on the road, and it's not hard to see why. Just look at the design. It's a very mature and handsome design, isn't it? Particularly in Malaysia, our Proton X50 is exactly the same as the cousin car in China, which is the Geely Binyue or Geely Coolray in Philippines and other Southeast Asian market. So for our Proton, there are slight design difference compared to other cousins, the Philippines cousin or the actual China cousin, which is the grille. The grille has some slightly different design element. We call it the infinity weave, but other than that, it's identical as is. So, as this car already in Malaysian market for 5 years, there are plenty of customization available. So you can look at the car group, the ownership group of Proton X50, and you will see a lot of examples. Some of them modified this to the Geely badges or whatnot. This handsome looking car is designed by designer Jamie Barrett. So when I first saw X50 5 years ago, it reminded me of a brand new car company named Coros, Q-O-R-O-S, which is currently out of business. And surprisingly, I noticed that Jamie Barrett is also the designer from Coros. In fact, he is from Coros before he joined Geely. So all the cars that you are familiar with, for example the X70, the X50, are all penned by Jamie Barrett. Jamie Barrett actually claimed that Geely Binyue or Proton X50 or Geely Coolray design, it's inspired by fighter jet, which I do not know which fighter jet he refers to. Looking back to the car itself, it's quite a well-sculptured design, isn't it? This car, for me, one of the main design highlights is the waistline, which is rather well-sculptured. Drop here and will take back up there. Which make the car have more aggressive sports stance. Other than that, with a floating roof design, which is a trendy thing back then, about 6 years ago. That actually helped by the invisible C-pillar design. Other than that, I also found that this car is quite well proportioned. It looked like a matured hatchback, so which got me thinking, it would be great if they make this car as a proper hatchback rather than a high ground clearance SUV. Don't you think it looks better that way? Front design and the side design of the car, it's absolutely flawless in my opinion. However, for the rear, I think it's a little bit overkill with this spoiler, but with a middle cut here, which intend to be aggressive, and the quad tip exhaust, which is real exhaust, not fake exhaust tips, that are a little bit overkill for a 1.5 litre, don't you think? But credits to be due, the tail lamp design here with the 3 stripes and the L-shaped element at the front headlamp. All in all, it's very good looking, and in some way, it's quite elegant, I think. Yeah, the Proton X50 uses 215/55 R18 tires. At the moment, it comes with a Continental UC6 tires, which is not bad at all. And what you can see is the red color caliper, which intends to be sporty. I still think it's a little bit overkill given this is just a family SUV. Same goes to the rear quad exhaust vents. Inside, what you can't see is a very typical front McPherson and rear torsion beam suspension setup. So it's not that all sporty now, isn't it? Under the hood, it's still the exact same 1.5 litre 3-cylinder TGDI engine. which is no difference compared to the pre-facelift version. This version comes with 177 horsepower and 255 Nm of torque. So how do you know if the X50 is top of the line TGDI version or the slightly less horsepower 150 horsepower version MPI? You can note it by the badge here, TGDI, Turbo Gasoline Direct Injection. For those who are familiar with car scene, or should I say that pay attention to car scene for the past few years, and also for those who like to go to forums, you will notice one trend where a lot of people complain about the 3-cylinder engines in Proton X50, or generally speaking, they hate 3-cylinder engines no matter it's from what brand or what car. Let it be the Ford Fiesta EcoBoost or the 3-cylinder 1.5-litre turbo direct injection in the Proton X50. Why? Because they complain about the vibration and the harshness, generally speaking the NVH. But I sincerely think that the engine in Proton X50 is not an issue. The vibration and the voice harshness will not transmit to the driver's side, or generally speaking to the cabin. You don't trust me? Let me demonstrate to you. Now that we are in the cabin, this is the place where the NVH concerns the most. It's not in the engine bay because you did not drive your car in the engine bay. So let me demonstrate you by using this vibration detector, or should I call it just a water bottle? For those who know, for those who stay in Earth, you should know that this is a very simple physics phenomenon. I place a water bottle on the steering wheel, which is the main area where you feel the most vibration from the engine. And let's start the engine. Do you notice any puddles here? Next, let's try to rev the engine. Push the end. Okay, let's go. It's currently at 4000 RPM due to the rev protector or rev limiter, but it barely vibrates. So for those who complain about the 3-cylinder engine in Proton X50, don't you worry about it. The 3-cylinder imbalance will not transmit to the driver or the cockpit or the cabin. It works just perfectly fine. Proton X50 has been on the market for 5 years, so if you are interested on the car, you probably already built it in the showroom or on the roadshow. So when it comes to the driver experience, or should I say, what do you feel as a driver, I would say it's quite impressive. And 5 years later, it still remains as the top tier competitor with a very good design elements, dashboard, multiple material. This seems like leather, but it's not. It's PVC with fake leather stitches. This seems like aluminium, but it's not. It's plastic. And this is actually hard plastic, but hey, it works alright, and it actually gives a sense of quality. I remember vividly back then, about 4 or 3 years ago, where I have the opportunity to test drive the first batch Proton X50. I noticed there are some minor fit and fitment issues, especially with the moldings or the plastic moldings. One of the area that affect the most is this. However, I believe Proton has fixed the problem here, where it actually provides a more solid texture. And unfortunately, the driver's side steering is still offset to the left, so it's not 100% flawless ergonomic, but it compensated with a huge leg room and a very wide sitting position, so it's a comfortable car. It's not a flawless car when it comes to ergonomic, but at least it's a very comfortable car. And I have to say, I'm unsure if it's my own illusion or it's my own perspective, but I do feel the seat in RC X50 is actually better compared to the first batch X50. It's softer now. Don't get me wrong, the ergonomics is still the same, but at least they have made some effort to make the seat slightly more comfortable than before. Now comes the biggest fallbacks in Proton X50, which is the UI design. I do not understand why they have a screen here and they have a screen here. Whatever you can do to the screen here, you can't do it here. So it's rather confusing. Let me show you. For example, you want to change it to the green theme or the yellow theme. Where can you adjust it? Can you adjust it here? Or can you adjust it here? The answer is here. Can you adjust it here? No. Why, Proton? Just why? Let me show you. You can go to here and you have to go to the settings, and you have to go to the cockpit, you have to go to the display, and you have to go to here to change it to yellow theme or blue theme. Why you have to make things so complicated, Proton? Then here, there's also other things that you can adjust. For example, the units. You want it to be in the SI unit, or you want it to be the Imperial unit. You have to go to here and go to the setting, which sometimes doesn't allow because it's already attached to host. Yes, for me, I think this is the major drawback of Proton X50. It's not the 3-cylinder engine. Despite what I've mentioned just now, if you would like to be straightforward and you would like to make things easy, Proton actually make it easy for you. So you just have to disable this, and you make sure that the instrument theme is linked to the mode of the car. So for example, now it's Eco, it will show blue theme. Sport, it will show this red theme, and if you disable the Sport, it will back to the Comfort yellow theme. There's point to mention, this car steering does have two modes, which is the normal mode and the Sport mode. So how can you change the setting of the steering? From here, or from here? The answer is here. You can adjust it by using the buttons here and go to the steering settings and change the steering to Sport mode, which offers a slightly less assisted steering force. As this particular model is the 2025 rolling change update, the key selling point or the key update feature, it's all hidden in this cabin. First is the head unit. Proton claimed that it has utilized a better processor and a better RAM, which contributes to 55% faster response speed. So let's see. Yeah, indeed it is. Other than that, a more clear and higher definition, higher clarity 360 camera. So let's look at this. Yep, indeed it is. Last but not least is the MB hash, which I have mentioned earlier. Proton have improved 20 points on the car to improve the noise insulation. For the first batch of X50 owners, most of them will complain wind noise is very apparent at the air pillar, where there is a slight hint of wind wheezing noise filtering through the air pillar. However, I'm glad to report that in this RC version, actually way better compared to before. Other than the UI issue, I think if you are a typical car driver, maybe you don't bother about it much, because most of the time, you will just put it into a normal mode and done. You will not intend to adjust the car or play with the car. If you are the kind of consumer, this car works just alright for you. And not to mention, Proton X50 did a very good job when it comes to the switch, and not just where most of the control is quite initiative. So for example, the aircon, cold or hot, the blower, cold or hot, more or less. Then you have all the major aircon control went here. The mode button here, Eco, Sport, Hill Assist 360, auto parking, brake, everything is with physical button, and it also comes with a volume button here. So yeah, something good about the car, something bad about the car. It's normal. I vividly remember the first generation Proton X50, actually I don't think that's the correct word to say so. Okay, let's say the previous version X50. It's a good car to drive, and it's very powerful. Ever since we have been introduced by the Chinese car. It depends on the definition on Proton X50, is it a Malaysian car or a Chinese car, but you get what I mean. Power is no longer a problem, and power is no longer a unique selling point. Everybody just suddenly come with a big turbo and with high horsepower. So the main problem of first generation Proton X50, it's at the Sport mode, where the gearbox will begin to jerk and it will struggle to bite when the car moves from standstill. So does that problem has been solved by Proton in this generation? Yes, and it's actually way better when it comes to creeping. So yeah, let's go. Let's take a test drive and we will talk about it more. So how does it feel like to drive a Proton X50? To be honest, not bad at all. And if anything, I do feel like this and the X50 that I driven 3 years ago seems like a different car. Why? First thing first, the gearbox is way smoother now, and it makes it more relaxing and more effortless to drive as a daily car. especially in a stop and go traffic condition. The only movement that I can feel from the gearbox is when you slow down, the gearbox tries to downshift and you will hurt some mechanical movement in the transmission tunnel, which is okay. Sometimes it's good to know what your car is doing. When you drive the car as is, the throttle response is okay, and I'm particularly impressed by the brake. The brake feedback is rather good. It's not those with over served. One thing great about Proton is the ride and handling. I'm not sure if our Proton X50 have specific tune suspension compared to its cousin, the Geely Courier and the Geely Pingyue, but I do feel that this car managed to capture a perfect balance between supportive and also comfort. Don't get me wrong, this car is not a toge machine, but I don't mind to bring it for a ride in Genting Highland. If you manage to perform the weight transfer properly, this car actually flows into the corner in a very stable manner, which is rather surprising. Granted, it's quite head heavy and it will be quite understeery due to the overpowered front wheel. But if you know how to handle your pace, it can be a quite fun car to drive. If you want to know how better this generation of Proton X50 compare with to the previous generation Proton X50, even though they're the same one, I still found RC is a little bit weird. You can do this small experiment, which is you accelerate and you brake again and you accelerate. So the previous generation X50, it will jump out from the get-go. The gearbox will try to hunt for the correct gear and the power is not linear enough. It will have some jerk. But for this, it actually handled it quite maturely. However, I have to say currently I'm in comfort mode. Let's put into sport mode. And the jerkiness came back a little. Still okay because you're in sport mode. When you're in sport mode, the car is also willing to hold on the higher gear. Hold on the higher gear for longer. And it's more engaging to drive. When you are hitting about 3000 RPM, you also can hear the turbo whistle. Can you hear that? Yeah, it's quite intoxicating to drive. I just don't know why Proton does not launch a proper R3 version of this. It will be very, very interesting. Now let's talk about the rear seat department, which is the main concern of the Proton X50 or generally the SUV consumer group. So as you can see, the rear seat is rather impressive, and I think rear seat is a better place to enjoy Proton X50 compared to the front seat. So I am 180 cm tall, 100 kg, so you can see I sit just fine here. Front seat is my driver position. I still have about one fist, and my headroom is also a one fist. So the only drawback of this rear cabin is also the ingress and egress for my foot size only, of course, here. Other than that, it's a very good rear seat. What is the features of the rear seat? Aircon vent and 2 USB-A charger. Ambient light? No. Any infotainment rear seat? No. But again, why do you need that for? It's a sub 100,000 car. It also came with a good old cup holder and armrest. What you see most of the places is being covered by soft touch artificial leather, and the door panel also have a small area of leathers on the touch point. So it's not a bad place to be in. As a family car, Proton X50 also comes with ISOFIX latching point, which is a must for baby car seat. Apart from the head unit with better processor, the noise insulation with 20 points of enhancement, and I believe, despite it's not being mentioned in the press release, better transmission control module tuning. At the moment, you do not need to add the accessory package for the power tailgate. It comes as standard now. So in the tailgate is the 330 liters of boot space, not top of the class, but it's served just alright. And in case the boot space is not enough, you can always opt to drop down the rear seat bench, the 60-40 seat bench. by releasing it here. Yeah. Ever since Proton debuted X50 in Malaysia since 2020, a lot of event has happened in Malaysia, especially in the automotive industry. We witness a lot of brands flock into the Malaysia trying to take advantage of our MAP, Malaysia Automotive Policy. But despite that, Proton X50 stand through all the challenges and remain as the top seller in the B segment SUV. Why is that so? Well, I would say, first thing first, it's a very good product from the beginning. For those who are looking for something practical, it does have ample of space. For those who are looking for power, it does have a very formidable 1.5 litre 3-cylinder TGDI engine, which is not too shabby compared to the 1.5 VTEC turbo in the Honda HR-V. For those who are looking for technology, this car also comes with a full suite of ADAS, ACC, LKAS, you name it. It also came with an application where you can control your car. At the moment, despite all the minor upgrades, the selling price of Proton X50 RC remained the same at 113,000 ringgit. For this price range, we really can't complain much for the power, the package, and the practicality. If 113,000 for a Proton sounds like a bit too much for you, let's not forget there is a standard variant, which is the same asking price or slightly lesser to the B segment sedan in the market. In the RC version, even standard version comes with the LCD speedometer. At the moment, automotive industry is being severely challenged and flooded by a lot of competitors. Everybody is trying to manufacture a product that are almost similar compared to each other. But credits to it still, I do feel that Proton X50 is one of the products that are quite mature in terms of the design and the user experience, apart from the UI, which I think is the biggest drawback. The 3-cylinder engine, is it an issue as per the forums or as per the online critics? I don't think so. But for the UI, yes, Proton, please fix the UI. It's somewhat confusing. Credits to it still again, the handling is quite impressive. The car just flows into the corner without any additional drama. The steering input is quite precise, but don't expect much feedback from an SUV. So only time will tell if Proton X50 remain as the most favorite Malaysian B segment SUV. At this moment, after I test drive this, I do feel that it still have some substance remain in it, which ensure it's relevant in Malaysia automotive scene. So is this car for you? If you are looking for something practical, if you are looking for something slightly fun to drive, I don't see a reason why you would say no to a Proton X50. If you like what we are doing, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe our channel. See you next time.